Hi, in this video I'll show you how to put together the Topsy Turvy cake, which is a 3D SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. So before we begin, I want to show you the pieces. This is you see the cake tops. So I'm going to distinguish these a little bit so you can understand what these are. I have a little white mark on that. What I made the tops, these are going to be on, it's like a frosting, the frosting piece. This is for the top. This will be for the optional number that come with it, because we have a bunch of numbers that you can cut out. And these are all circular. So this is slightly different than the ones that are on the different levels, because it's rounded on the outside, but on the inside it still has a little bit, almost polygonal. So to help us glue tabs and actually to glue this where it needs to go. So that's that. And then the different levels. So this is the top pieces. So this will be the part will go, this part will attach to the middle piece, and then this will be the top. Anyways, you'll see. This will be the top, but show you that. At least you know the pieces. And here's the middle, so I made it 3 different colors. And here's the bottom part of the cake. So that's that. And then we'll put that aside. These are the panels that go on the edge to like simulate frosting dripping. So I'm going to put that with the tops. And then here's the base. So if you choose not to do the base, these are the pieces that you need. This is a little doily that you can put on top of the base. And then all these pieces, now they're white too, but you can make the base any color you want. I have it like a different color. I think it's a different color, but you can make it any color you want. But what I did, because it's white and it's similar, some of the pieces look like the same thing. As I cut them out, I put B on the back, so I knew it was the base piece. So I can put them all together, because these pieces you could get confused. So that's just a little tip. I just use a little pencil. So that's it. But the first thing we're going to do is put together the actual cake. So we have that middle top. So we're going to go ahead and put together the bottom piece. Before we start, let me show you kind of what it looks like. It's an example that you will see later on. But if you watch this video, you'll see this. I'm making kind of a Halloween one, so you can see this is what it kind of looks like put together, the stand. And then the panels are a little bit different on the edge, but there's the Topsy Turvy. And the way I have it is like the tall, short, tall piece. But it's fun because you could actually do like this and make it more leaning. So it's up to you how you want to do that, and we'll talk about that through the video too. So you'll see that later on. I'm making a Halloween version. So we're going to start with, we're going to put aside these pieces, and I'll explain them all. But we're going to go ahead and put those aside. And we're going to use, I'm just going to move that too. We're just going to put together these 2 pieces first, and then we'll come back to the rest. So this is, I'm trying to make it round, and it's not perfectly round, so we're still going to have kind of jagged edges to glue these little tabs, but it is rounded in a way. So right here, the tabs that are on these 2 pieces, there's 2 little cut lines. Now that's not for folding. That's why I didn't go all the way around. That's just a guideline. So if you can kind of see that, there's 2 little cut lines. Let's see if I can get that closer. It may not really. There you go. You can probably see it right there. Anyways, that's what we're gonna do to line this edge up. So we're just gonna line that edge, and same on the other side. So I want to explain that before we do it. So what you want to do is curl these, and the easiest thing for this, because it's so big, is to curl on the end of a table. So let me show you that really quick, how I'm doing that, and then we'll go back to it. So I've never really shown this, but you can do it with your hand, but since it's so big, it's kind of hard. So if you have a table with the rounded edge like that, you can carefully kind of rub it around. All I'm doing is trying to curl it a little bit to make it easier to put together, so you can see it's curling. So you don't need to do a ton, it's just so it, when we put it together, it kind of helps us get the curve in without having to do it manually. And I'm using American Crafts textured cardstock, so you can see it's curling, so it curl around. So we'll do that when we do the curling. You can do it on the edge of the table if it's a big piece. You can do it like that too. That's another way to do it. So now that we have it curled a little bit, let's go ahead and glue this together. So we're going to add glue to the right of these little cut lines, but we're not going to fold it. So what's going to be helpful here too is I'm just going to fold, I haven't folded these yet, but I'm going to fold the ends so I can see where the score lines are. You could fold them all too, but you kind of have to bring them up. So that'll help me line up these score lines and get it centered. So as I line this up to the cut line, I'm also lining up the score lines on these tabs to make sure that they match up. So I'm going a little bit to the right, like slightly to the right of the score line. And then we can't exactly flatten this because it's a circular, has a circular feel. So we're going to go ahead and add glue to this tab to the left of the cut lines, because that's, the cut lines are right here. Just fold these down. And I am using art glitter glue. I don't think I mentioned that yet. So this one gets a little bit, going like that helped me a little bit more. So I'm going to just kind of line it up, making sure that it lines up with that cut line, that edge. And I'm also making sure that the little score lines matched up on the other side too. So you can flip it over now, apply pressure. So you can see it kind of gets that like curvy feel. So now we're going to go ahead and just fold down and make sure you get the folds pretty crisp. I actually cut I have a kiss cut because I currently use Eclipse to cut this. So it's a good cut. So with like Cricut and stuff, it's hard because the score is not as crisp. So you may have to, if you do use that, which I kind of recommend cutting dash lines for this one. It's easier to fold if you do. So that's that. And we'll do the same on the top, just to get it all folded. And then we'll put the panels on. So because of the size, so I'm going to bring these other panels in here. Because the top is bigger than the bottom, I'm actually going to put the top panel first. But the panel we're going to do is this one right here. So this has a little, it's kind of, you can see the edges. It's 20-sided, so it's more of a polygon. So there's little sections in here. So just be aware of that, because that will help us put it on. And the same thing with the bottom when we get to it. And the reason I'm doing the bottom second is because I can reach in after I put this in. But this one has like a polygonal cut, and the other's round. So the round one, the completely round panel, will be the last one we put on the bottom. So we're just going to stick with the ones with the polygonal. So let's do this first. going to stick that in there. I know it looks kind of awkward, but it's going to glue on the inside of these tabs. So you're going to want these little polygon sections to meet up. And then we're going to glue it like that. So we're going to start with one tab. So might as well start with the one I had folded. So the biggest thing to pay attention to is make sure that you have a section lined up with that tab. So they're, like I said, it's polygonal, so you have a section lined up. I'm just making sure, and I'm lining it, I'm putting the edge into the inside tab fold, making sure it's a good section, and then applying pressure. So you can see I have one tab. And what I'm going to do to anchor it even better is to take the opposite tab, and you can eyeball that. I'm going to take that one, I'm going to actually fold that over. So what that's doing is centering it for me. And then we'll be gluing the rest of these in. So the way I'm doing this is because I can't really reach in easily. I could do it like that and fold them over if you've seen some of my older designs. That's how we're going to do the bottom. But because this is bigger than the bottom hole, it's hard to get in with your hands. So my recommendation, let's see. And I flipped it up here. When I was flipping it around, I flipped it up. Make sure all those tabs on the outside, and then we're going to go and start gluing them. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the sides really quick, a couple side ones, and then we'll do the rest. So you can go ahead, and so you can see like that. You can go ahead and watch me do the rest, and then I will be back after I get them all glued. So now you can see that we have that top piece on, and it serves a purpose. This actually is going to be your box. But now we can go ahead and basically do a similar thing, but this will be easier. We're going to take the one, and make sure you have the one with the little, you can see the little polygon. It's like a 20-sided polygon and not the round one. And we're going to put it in here. And so I'm just going to kind of sneak it in there like that. I'm going to have the textured side up because the other side's non-textured. It'll glue better since the non-textured glues better. So, and then I'll have the bottom one that's round will be on the bottom with the texture side down. So we'll go ahead, and you don't want to put it on there. I mean, I'm going to try it on here. So you could do them all at once. I'm going to add glue to the tabs in here. So if you can see, you could, if you have a glue that's not really, doesn't dry really fast, you could try to do them all at once, or you could do half and half. So I'm going to assume some people will do it half and half. So I'm going to show you how to do that if you want to do it, or if you do them all at once. Biggest thing is once you put it in here. So I got about half the tabs. You can see the glue there from the angle. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to make sure this one of these edges lines up with one of the inside tab edges. So you kind of just squish it to get it in. And then try to get it in place. And then I'm kind of pushing in, making sure that it matches up with the edges here. And keep a mental note of where you started and ended so you can apply pressure. And we can kind of flip it over and look. So I don't think I did that one. I did. So that's not lined up there. I'm pulling this one back up because I didn't line the edge up very well. So you want to push them in when you glue it. You see I'm a little bit off there. I'm just going to pull that one up too. Yeah. Well, we're just going to let it go. But that's the biggest thing if you don't line them up. So I'm just going ahead and adding glue to the rest of them. And I'll flip it over and make sure that, like I said, the bottom was a little bit off because I didn't pay attention to that side. And if you do get a little bit of glue that leaks out, it's okay because we're going to have a bottom panel. Fold those over gently to get them ready. And you could do it with your hands too. You could reach in and do each tab individually if you wanted to. I'm trying to correct my little being off a little bit by pushing it in. But sometimes you do something and it's a little bit off. Like I said, I have one tab that's a little bit off right here. But the problem is with some glue, when you flip it up again, and there, I was able to do it. When you flip it up again, it could cause a little bulging on the bottom. So there, it's starting to come along. So if you do have like a white core paper or something like that, you could go ahead and this would be a good time to ink the edges if that's what you want to do. Some people would do that. I don't need to because I have a solid core paper that I'm using. So we will have seams, but the seams are such that the cake sits like this, so you wouldn't see them. And also you could add embellishments and stuff to the actual cake sides too, even though I'm not doing that. So I'm just using color. So here's this bottom part, and it's a little bit rounded, so it should fit. It should supposed to be just a little bit bigger than that, but that's okay. You might see, just kind of center it best you can, and of course have the textured side showing. So we're going to go around. And the reason it's showing a little bit more is because this one tab over here is I didn't get it set into the inside tab fold completely. It's not a huge deal. I always want to find the balance between making the file fun looking without a whole lot of effort. So it was kind of a combination of thought processes rather than make it completely round, because rounds are sometimes difficult to do. I kind of do it in between. So you just want to set it up there. Try to get the glue as close to the edge as possible. And I'm just kind of figuring out where the best placement is, centering it. And we can go around the edges here. And then flip it over and apply pressure. So I'm just going around the edges, the middle, and applying pressure. So that's the bottom part. And that's actually going to be the box. We didn't make every section a box. I didn't want to make it a huge box. but I wanted it big enough to hold a gift if you wanted to. So at this point, I'm going to go find this cake top. So the largest one. So you want to find this one. It's going to sit up there. So that's going to be above that and sit on the edge like that. And it should pretty much center once we get it on there. It doesn't look as centered right now, but it's a little bit off, like I said, because this isn't round. It kind of throws this off a little bit, but I tried to make this a little bit bigger. I actually did make it bigger, but you will see a little bit of this through once you get the panel on. So I'll show you, that's where the trick comes in, and I'm going to do this, is if you don't want it to show as much, I'm going to use a black, because I'm going to have this covered, so I'm going to have a little panel around here, so I don't see the purple as much, and I just see dark. I'm going to just ink it on the edge here. And it's up to you what you want to do, and you'll see what I mean once I get it together. So now I'm going to take this piece, these two pieces, and it's going to go with this. So we're going to go ahead and just curl this with our fingertips. You can do it on the edge of the table again if you want to. And then I'm going to fold these naturally, and then I'm going to fold them back. So it's going to go underneath here. It's going to glue like that. The tabs are going to glue under. So I'm going to go the opposite way, which is a valley fold. So the natural fold is a mountain fold, and then we're doing a valley fold. And I realize, I mean, you can fold them. I'm just getting them trained before I glue the two pieces together. So it'll be easier to fold once I get there. So now we're going to put, like we did the two big pieces. We're going to go ahead and there's a little cut line. We're just going to line it up, making sure that the top's lined up, as well as the bottom score, the folds, scores. So I'm just lining that edge right up to that cut line. Do it on the other side here. You don't want to fold it or anything, so you don't want to fold that tab just like earlier. And I'm just lining this up, this edge up, right up to and not over that cut line. So this is going to create, what it's going to do is this is going to be the little lip that the top part will sit on for the box opening. So we're flipping these all back, folding them back. And put them like that. Then we're going to go ahead and slide this carefully over. This, don't worry about the little polygonal things yet until we get it over. I didn't get matched up because that's circular and this is down, so I'm kind of pushing it down as I go. And then I'm making sure that one of these edges match up. So if you can see, there's a little edge there, pulling it down to the tab fold gently. It's kind of a tight fit, but it's actually a little bit larger than this, believe it or not. I'm just rotating it a little bit to get it's polygonal in the center, so to get it lined up. So looks like it's pretty much lined up. So like we did earlier for the other piece, we're gonna go ahead and just glue one tab first to get it anchored, and then we'll do the other side. So again, I'm gonna make sure that this is lined up in an edge here. If it's a little bit off, it's not a deal breaker. And it doesn't have to really be that tight on the edge, so I'm just going to get the opposite one put on there. And you don't have to just get it in place. So there could be a little bit of give. We kind of want a little bit of give. Okay. So now we're just going to add glue to the rest of the tabs here. So I'll do one side at a time. Just so my glue doesn't dry before I get to it. And I'm just going to fold them down. Try not to get too much glue on my fingertips. And be careful because you don't want glue on this white part. And then we'll finish them off. So now we glued this all on here. And now what we're going to do is just glue it onto the top of this to make that little lip. So just a different way of putting it together. Now, because we're going to do that, I brought a little, I brought my Scotch Quick Dry out, and the reason I did that is because I use art glitter glue, which you still can, but I just don't have, I only use my fine tip applicator, so it doesn't matter which glue you use, but I'm just doing it because I have a bigger flow. So I'm going to have a wet paper towel ready too. So I'm just going to go around the edge, and the key here with any panel, just like the bottom panel, is just to get as close to the edge as possible. And we're going to center it at the same time. So I'm going to get it a little bit wetter in between. And then I'm getting it close to the edge inside. So it's not going to be perfect, but it'll work. This is, I put it together several ways, and this seemed to work fairly well. It's my stuff on because this is quick dry, it literally dries quick. So I'm just going to make sure that my seams are lined up, because I like to do that. So the front and back, I'm lining this seam up to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go around the edge, make sure it's somewhat lined up before I start applying pressure. So once you get it in place, and the one you're seeing right now, I actually had to make a change during the video. That panel wasn't really long enough on the edge. But once you get it in place and the panel will be slightly overhanging, you want to just go ahead and apply pressure inside. And you can see I'm just kind of rubbing it around to get it attached inside. And then you'll want to make sure that you get those panel edges for the side of the cake down as close as possible. If you have to reach in and put additional glue, you can always have this wet paper towel to make sure that you can get any leakage so it doesn't show on the outside of the box. Then here you're going to see the new panel that I actually replaced it with a little bit of overhang. So when you put the panels on, you will not see the color of the cake as much. I'm still going to go ahead and curl these two pieces. So they go down in size, so there's two pieces for the large, and they're just opposite of each other, and two pieces for the medium, the middle, and then one piece of this type of panel for the top part piece. So we're going to go ahead and put these side panels on. So the thick part is meant to be back here. So to start back there so that there's a little bit thinner on the front. So they have the swirls going around. So what you want to do, and we'll still keep with the Scotch Quick Dry for now. I'm just going to add glue to this a little bit, and don't get too close to the edges. You want to just be careful. You can do it all at once, but the larger piece is a little bit harder. It gets easier when you have the middle and top pieces. So I'm just going to line it up to that seam, and I'm going to line it up to the top. So what I'm doing is kind of pulling it up. I'll show you in a minute once I get it. Trying to pull it up to match the side of the white panel. So to minimize the gap. So you can see. So when we wrap it around to put it on, we're going to try to wrap this around up there to match. So we have a minimal edge showing. So now that I have it started, I'm actually going to kind of pull it off a little bit and add a little bit more glue. And because I have a little bit heavier or bigger glue bottle with opening, I'm putting a little bit more glue on at once, so I have to be careful. I'm trying to get it up towards the top a little bit, lighten my touch a little bit. So used to using my little fine tip applicator because I don't want the glue to show through. So as I wrap it around, I'm going to match it up to the top. So you can do it lightly to start. And then we can go over and apply additional pressure. So I got it around there. It looks like I matched it pretty well considering. And then I'm just going to feel around, and I'm reaching in, applying pressure from the inside. And then there's that. If you do like these projects, I would ask you to do a little like thumbs up. To give me the thumbs up down there. You can like this video and or subscribe. It is truly appreciated and it does help. If you don't, I understand. But what's not to like a fun cake, right? You can use it for any occasion, really. So that's what I like about the bigger panel. So I have this panel kind of slightly going over these little edges if it goes on correctly, and so I can match this up and not have a big gap or anything, so to minimize the gap. So I'm actually going to add glue to this whole thing, and just be careful about not getting it too close to the edges because I don't want it to leak down and get on the actual cake portion. So I'm going to continue where I left off. So I'm going to start with the smaller side here. So if you do it all at once, just make sure it doesn't touch the box or falls on the box while you're doing it. If you want to do it because you don't trust yourself, then that's up to you how you want to do it. But you got to be really careful not to drop it down and hit the box while you're putting it on, if you do it this way. And put a little bit too much glue on it, just a smidgen, and it just lines up back around the other side. It's almost perfect, not quite. Cardstock's going to be a little bit thicker, won't overlap as much, and I have a little cut imperfection here. What I like to do with those, I just have a little snag there. I'm going to take a little, I think I got these at the dollar store. I don't know where the one I had out, but it's just a little nail file. I'm just filing that down. Okay, it was just a little fifi, paper fifi. So there you go. There's the panels. So we'll put the panels on the same way regardless of what level it's on. So let's go ahead and do the next step. So we're going to go ahead and resume making the middle and the top. So these are the two pieces for the middle sides. So I curled them already and I already started training the tabs. I pulled them back a little bit so I can glue them together. So just like we did with the other ones, other pieces, we're just not going to fold the tab. We're just going to add glue to the right of this tab and then line up this piece right here up to the little cut lines, the two cut lines. So we can try to keep it round. And then make sure you have the score lines lined up. And then we'll do the other side here. The smaller side. So you have no tabs on this side because I'm just lining it up carefully. But that's the lid that'll just go on top of the bottom piece. So the middle and the top piece are considered the complete lid. I didn't make them all separate boxes. And it's just due to the size. Theoretically I could have. I just chose not to. You have to make a decision when it comes to those things. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fold all those in. And they're pretty close together. And we're going to go ahead and take this other piece and we're going to glue it inside. So it doesn't matter which way you do it because this will be covered with the white piece. So I'm just going to you can actually just put it in there once we get the glue in. So this time I'm only going to do a couple tabs just to get it in place, and then I'll go back and put glue on the rest of them. So I'm going from the other side. I'm really right-handed, but I have to do this left-handed. So making sure those little sections line up with the sections of the tabs. I'm just lining them up. I'm just kind of getting it in there. Again, I don't really care about the color. I put the color on the inside because there's a pattern paper. So I'm just pushing in the edges. Since I only did a couple tabs, just making sure I push in the edges as I attach it. You can also do it like this, which we did the bottom piece. So I'll do the remaining, I'm just going to do one right here in the middle just to anchor it, these two. And then finish off the rest of the tabs. I was a little bit off, so it got a little wiggly on me. That can happen. So that's the benefit of doing one side and the other side before you do those, is that you won't get things like this happening. So it's not a huge deal if this does happen to you. I'm going to show you how to adjust it. So let's just do that right now. So to avoid doing that is, like we did the bottom box, is getting this anchored and then getting the one across from them anchored, and then it sets things into place a little bit better. So I'm just going to kind of do every other one for now until I get, and I have a little ripple there. It's kind of irritating, but I'm going to go ahead and push it down, and it's creating a little fold inside. So there's a little fold, a little ripple in there, but you won't see that. So if that does happen, you can do something like that. It won't be seen, but you can go ahead and use the pressure and put it down there. This is such a precisely engineered cut that if you're a little bit off, sometimes something like that will happen. But there's always a way to fix it without having to do it over again. So when I did those individually, it helps me to get those in the edges in there. And you can go ahead and go inside again. So I do have, like I said, that little rippled area but I was able to get it kind of flattened, and it's just slightly folded inside. So you can see, you don't even see it. You can barely see it inside too. So even if I showed it to you, it would be hard to see. So what we're going to do with the top piece we're going to do similar. We're going to do the top like that, so we can still reach in. And then we're going to attach this to that. But we're going to use this piece, just like we did the bottom. So let me get that prepped. So now we're going to go ahead and glue this. And then this is going to attach. It's going to attach to this, and then this will go up here. But we're going to put this part up here first, after we put this together, so it'll be easier to put together. So we're going to go ahead and add glue. There's little cut lines right here to help you guide the other side. So we're just going to go ahead and fold that, kind of curl that around, and just make sure you pre-curl it. I'm going to line up the score lines up there, but then I'm just shy of the cut line. I mean, not lined up exactly, but pretty close. A little glue coming through here. So you want to hold that until it's secure. I have to get another little towel here. So I just get a paper towel, and I have this little, I think a dispenser for, my sister gave it to me. She went to the dollar store and got these, and you just kind of tap it to get some water out. Isn't that cute? She personalized it. Of course, she's a crafter too. And that's how I get little pieces of paper to help wipe my fingers off while I'm crafting. I mean, when I have to, I get up and wash them, obviously. But we'll go ahead and put that aside. But I just lightly dampen it so I can get my fingertips clean when I get glue on them really quick. And also just wipe edges. So we're going to put this on first, and it's just going to make it easier than putting this on attached to this and then putting it on. It's just a little easier. So I'm just folding it down to get it ready. So this one, we're going to go inside, so you can't stick it obviously that way. You have to go from the top. So just like we did the bottom piece, I'm just going to anchor. So these have little polygonal sections in them. So we're just going to add glue to one of them. Actually, I'll just do two little ones. We'll get one and set in place first. Just kind of give myself room. It doesn't matter which way you put it. You can put the pink up if you like. And then This is the white core paper that I printed, so when I fold it, you can see the white, as well as that printed one. The middle part's like that too. It's a digital paper I used. If you're not familiar with digital paper, it's kind of fun because you can get a lot of papers for fairly inexpensive and print them out. So I actually just print, rather than do like a printing cut, I actually printed out cardstock with the paper and then cut it. Depends on the size of the item that I need to cut. So I did the opposite side to help with that little bulging issue we had before. So it's lined up and those are folded into their little areas, and we could do that the other way too. I just forgot to do that on the middle piece. Sometimes I forget things as I'm doing things, as I'm trying to do a demo on film. It's just one of those things. I should have a bunch of notes, but I've done notes before, and when I do notes, I forget to look at the notepad. So, what's the point in doing the notepad, right? So, anyways. So you're dealing with my insanity and my... Sometimes I kind of go off and do something not quite right. So we'll get these all placed, and then we'll go on to the next step. So we're getting close to getting the cake part completed. So one thing I want to kind of sidebar with, first let me show you that this is just going to go over that like that. Like I said, you could go where you put the short sides together so it'll lean more, or you can go this way so it's more of a straight topsy-turvy. So once we get that together, so I'm going to sidebar, and the reason I'm sidebarring is because of this. This file comes with a bunch of numbers. So I selected to do single digit numbers for birthdays and some milestone numbers. So basically it goes, I have 0, but nobody's really 0, but I put 0 there just in case you want to try to weld numbers together for your custom number. But anyways, I have basically 1 through 9 with a tab, and they're double-sided, and I'll show you how to go together. And I also have 16, 18, 21, I skipped 20 because that's typically not a milestone per se, and then 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. I only went up to 90. So the way that works, these go together. You just pick the ones you want. So I did double digit and single digit so you can see how that is. So we're going to go, so you can see that the 30 is going to go like this. So if you did something like a 30, you take the one side that it fits on correctly, just going to center it. So you can see just kind of equal space around everything. Same thing with the next number. So this is easy to make a cake for at least milestones. I've been wanting to make a design with milestone birthdays. I want to do a card too, I just haven't done so yet. I started one, I wasn't quite thrilled with it to put it out there. So then we're just going to go ahead and glue these opposite pieces together. So this is the back of it. So you have textured on both sides, and it gives it structure. Or, I'm going to say structure. It makes it a little bit more stable. So it makes it thicker. So it'll sit up there. And what we have little cut tabs, so there's little cuts in them. On each side, like that. So they'll fold back. So you'll take this piece, on this is going to go on the top, and then you would fold it back and glue right here in here to put that up, and that'll go on to the top of the cake. So that's So let me kind of get kind of a visual in a way. Once we get the top on, and it should sit up once I get it glued on. And you can see with the double digits, it's a little bit bigger. And you could add whatever else you want, but it's just an option for this. Of course, you could take the base cake and do anything. But so the single digits are much lighter. I mean, they're, you know, they're not as heavy as the double digit ones. So if you wanted to put an extra, if you wanted to put it extra thick for the double digit, so let me get that back here. For the double digit, you would, you could go, also just, you could just cut another piece for this big back piece with the tab on it and just cut off the tab to make it thicker and heavier if that's what you want to do. You could cut chipboard too. I tend not to like to cut a lot of chipboard because it dulls my blade. That's probably why you don't see me doing a lot of chipboard designs. So there's just the 5. So you just want to line it up. I'm not doing every number, obviously it would take me forever, but I want to at least do a single digit and a double digit. So we have those ready to go. For this cake, I think I'm just going to do the 5. But I'll know, it has, like I said, it has all the numbers in one file that you can ungroup and choose what you want. So let's get back to the design, because we're going to use that in a minute. Or not in a minute, but shortly. So now we want to put this top piece on. And this top piece should overlap just slightly, just like that bottom one's supposed to do. But it didn't, but this one does. Everything's fixed now, all of the files. For some reason I was just a little bit off on my math. There's a lot of math involved when you design. If you didn't know that, I didn't know that until I started making them. But math is my friend and gets me by. So if anybody tells you, like one of your kids say, what do I need math for? Well, if they craft, then they do something like this one day and need math. And unfortunately, it's geometry most of the time. And I was really good at algebra and things like calculus, because that's my mindset. But geometry wasn't my strong point, but over time I'm getting better. So I'm just center that. And then I'm just going to take my little wooden chopstick, the little takeout chopstick. Flip those up. So I can flip these out of my way so I don't break them off. They're going to have to flip back anyways. But you could reach in and do it. I'm just going to do it with this. And just get it around the edges so it gets close on the top. And once we get this done, we're going to attach it to the middle piece. So the nice part is it is white core. And why I said that is because I have a white frosting. I mean, if you have a different colored frosting, obviously. Let's say I put a pink frosting on. I might ink the edges pink, just so it's not as noticeable, whatever paper's underneath there. So we're going to take this smaller piece. This is just one piece. This is for the top. And we're just going to go around like this. Slowly, like we did that bottom piece. So we're going to add glue to the entire thing, but lightly. So make sure I'm adding glue away from the piece, because I tend to have the dropsies. And it's not unusual for me to be putting together a design and drop a piece with glue on it and ruin the piece. So we're going to start at the seam here. Just line it up. It should overlap once we get it all the way around. So I'm just making sure that I'm kind of going inside here. I'm making sure that it's lined up here. And just like we did on the bottom panel like this, of going carefully around. You can pull these out of the way too. If they're in your way, we have to fold them that way anyways to attach it to the middle piece. So I kind of pull this up, and I'm pulling this edge up so I have minimal gap here. And be careful of these tabs. But this is easier than doing it after the fact. So this is why we're doing it before. All that just means it didn't match up exactly. It's just I had a little bit of gap somewhere. So that'll happen. And thicker paper will wrap different than, so this is a thicker cardstock, will wrap different than a thinner paper. So it depends on what you use on the edge. So now what we're going to do is the same thing we did earlier. Kind of folding these back. And I'm just getting them ready for the next step. Because what we need to do is take this piece now. So here's this piece. We're just going to gently, so we want to make sure the textured side is up. So here's the textured side. We're going to just put this around the tabs. Takes a second. Make sure all the tabs are inside. So now we're just going to glue the tabs like this. So we want to get them anchored just like we've been. So we want to anchor it to a section. So the inside has the little polygonal edges. Just start with one. Get it in place. You might need to pull it down a little bit. Then we'll do the next one. And I'm just doing across from it, but I'm doing 3 of them. And I'm making sure that they're lined up with one of the edges on the inside. And I didn't realize I had I have a fan on that you may be hearing, so I'm going to turn that off. So I apologize if you heard that. It might sound much different now. My laptop fan went on. I put it on in between filming to cool it off, because I don't have like the latest and greatest. I mean, I have a fairly good laptop, but it gets hot during filming. The insiders. I said I'm not an expert videographer. I learned it out of necessity to do these videos, which I think I've done a fairly good job. I at least try to show you the best I can. See, that's a little bit off, but so when you get to something like that, kind of, but it's not going to be that noticeable, so just trying to push it down and fold it over. And just make sure your fingers that are touching up here do not have glue on them. So if you get glue on them, make sure you get a piece of like a paper towel like this and wipe them off. In fact, I'm going to do that really quick. When you're working with white, well, black's the worst actually. So we're going to just do the rest of them. And the nice thing about this is that you can actually easily reach it. So you can see I did the middle one first. And I'm just going around. And I was just making sure that this was pulled up above the fold lines. So there's only one tab that was a little bit problematic. And that was right there. So it's looking like the top, right? So the number will be on top, so we don't want to bend it. So I just wanted to show you what's going to go on top. So when we get the number glued on, we can put this on, and then it can sit on top. Or you can put whatever you want, actually. So now we're going to do what we did for this piece. We're just going to glue it on. This time it fits better, just like the other piece. Like I said, I fixed that. So we're going to go ahead and attach this to the top, but I already did one, but I did it a little bit incorrectly. So I'm going to show you the options. So if you want it to be kind of leaning over like that, you can do the short side to the short side. The way that I intend it to be is basically this way, where you have the long, short, and then long, but you can see I didn't do that. So you can get a different look by attaching this a different way. So just be aware. So we're going to do it slightly different than what you see. Then I'll show you the differences. So we want to make sure that we take the seam and we go, this is the short side, and we're going to line it up with the seam for the long side, if that makes sense. So short, long, and then it's long on top and then short on bottom. So just opposites. But you could do it like this if you'd like, if you want it more like a leaning. So it is a flexible file, something you can change up the look a little bit. So we'll go ahead and add a thin layer of glue around the edge here. This is probably going to be the hardest part to put on because we have a hard time getting leverage. So we're going to have to really reach in. So I'm trying to get this to the edge. And if you wanted to, you could use a finger or like a brush. I don't like to touch the glue too much because I've had allergic reactions to glue, but not lately. So just be aware that you can always use a like a paintbrush. But this is definitely the most challenging part of putting this together. It was either I had to make a decision on where the challenge was going to be. It was either the challenge to get the top on if I connected these earlier to get the top together, or this piece. So we're going with this piece. So before I put it on, I want to make sure it's situated correctly. So I'm making sure this faces the long side. Once we get it there, we can start getting the circle on. And I'm just getting the paper towel so I have glue on my fingertip. So make sure you put enough glue on. You want to use a different adhesive, of course, that's up to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach in and just go around the edge. I may have to add a little bit more glue. But I'm just rubbing it lightly first. And if it's off a little bit, so that's over, so it kind of goes over, which is okay. Kind of can see it. And I'm just trying to rub it so there's no buckling. I tried not to put too much glue so we could not have major issues there. And the nice part is you can apply pressure from within at the same time. And it does kind of raise it up naturally because of the tabs there. So this is just patience going around. And of course I didn't get it exactly on correctly because I wanted kind of an edge around the edge, the whole thing, but I didn't get it exactly on. In order to get the curved look, there's a little bit of a pain putting it together. And then intentionally not trying to push hard areas so it's not noticeable. So here's the difference between the two. You see when I put these next to each other like that, you see the difference in looks. And if you don't like this overhang, you could always just kind of trim it off, but try to get it centered as well as you can. You can see inside. I'm not really going to hide those. I made the decision not to hide those, but if you wanted to, you could add another file. I'll just add another panel for that. So look for it in the file for that panel if you want to hide that. So we have that. So there's not much difference except for the way it goes. So if you do it, this is the way I intended it to be. So I'm just putting it on this way. That Topsy Turvy. And we do have to put the panels on the side, on that middle still. It's just the same steps as the others. And this is a different way. So if you did it like top, you can see it kind of curves over, which is kind of fun. It curves over that way if that's what you want. Or it'll even curve over more if you do it that way. So that would be fun, like a leaning cake. So you can do it either way. So you just need to make the decision when you glue this onto this, what you want. So we have now, this is have the panels on there, and we'll go ahead and just put it, we'll put the number on later, but we'll go ahead and add it to the box, like that. And you can see how you put flowers, little embellishments, you could change the colors for different themes, you could make it a theme based on any character. If you wanted to do Disney characters, you could go cut that from licensed or wherever you get your Disney things, and add this. This would be fun as a Disney cake. Wouldn't that be fun to add some characters around, whether a movie or something? So of course I have no Disney images because that's licensed, but whatever you have, or wherever you get it. So here's the base. We're just going to go ahead. This is the bottom of the base. And then here's the, this will be the top. These two pieces will be part of the top. And I recommend you do use cardstock 80 pound or greater, just like this, like American Crafts. And this is the part of the base as well. So we're going to start with that. Let's start with this piece. So we need to go ahead and fold these. I'm going to show you how to fold them. So this will be the bottom part, the bottom of it. And oops, just be careful when you're folding. It's an angle. And these are all angled. So fold them really well. And then we'll do this one. So make sure you do fold them. It's a little bit, be gentle around this area. And of course you could do this cake without a base. So it's just optional, an additional thing that I added to it, just to make it more of a complete file. Because I realize this file could be used for a lot of things, like baby showers as well. So you could really just spice it up with color and embellishments. So we're going to put these two together. Actually, I'm trying to decide whether I want to put them together that way yet. Actually, I'm going to just attach this piece right here. Just this little tab right there. The reason is we have to do all this angle assembly, and I don't want to do both pieces yet, as I want to do them in order. We'll do this piece. That's the very end. So we're just going to take those and we're going to glue it on the inside, so making sure it's folded well. We just angle it over and then match up this edge to the tab fold. And making sure we put the tab glued on the inside so you can't see it. And then we're going to continue around gluing all these side tabs. And then we'll close it shut once we get to this last piece. So I'll just let you watch this, and then I'll be back when I get close to having this done. Okay, so now we're to this part. We're just going to glue this underneath to close it. I'm going to just do this first tab first. What's nice is you can reach in from the top and from the bottom. Just lining it up. I could have put glue on both tabs too, but I just want to get that in place. Oops. Shifted on me a little bit. Then we'll get this last tab. And you can see what it looks like on the inside. Okay, you may have noticed these tabs are a little bit long. They were going to overlap, so the file, I had to cut them manually because rather than just recut the file. So sometimes I just don't pay attention when I'm making them, but that's an easy fix. But you won't have to do that. That'll be all done for you. All these little details that I need to pay attention to when I'm putting it together. So I'm just going to glue this together. So I'm just gluing this tab underneath and then lining up the opposite edge to the tab fold. I'm just holding it, and it's going to be glued on here. So I'm just going to glue these on the inside. So you just have to pick where you want to start it. So I'm just going to take this tab right there. So I'm just going to use this tab right here. Going to glue it on the inside. And I'm just getting it lined up into its section. And then I'll just do the opposite tab and glue it on the inside. And make sure your other tabs are pushed on the inside so you don't, because they have to be all glued on the inside so there's none sticking out. And once you have those anchored, you can go around and do each side. So I'm just flipping down the tabs on the inside and adding glue. Then I'm just going to go around and just flip them up, and I'm just kind of pushing down this edge to get this closer. So if you can see that. Just need to squish that in a little bit to flip it up. That's half of it. And then we'll do the remaining tabs. Just be careful giving too much glue towards the bottom edge there, especially if you're doing a color base. I decided to, even though the base is a different color than the frosting, so just be aware of that. You need to, if you want it to be white, you need to change it to white, especially if you're using a machine like Cricut, where they put your colors by matte. But I kind of made it a wood color in the file, just to make it generic for other designs. Because a lot of people might just want to put a lot more color into it. Like you could make the frosting panels different layers, different colors. There's a lot of changes you can make with the file. See, these are going to overlap just a little bit, which is okay. Well, we're going to go this way anyways, but that's why the reason they're shaped the way they are is because they're going to go backwards, like that. For a minute I was thinking I need the lid. Oh, I get the designs confused. Then people email me and ask me for questions about assembly videos of, or assembly from designs done 3 years ago. It's, you know, I have to get a refresher on how to put them together. It's not that I can't, it's just I have to get a refresher. So now we're just going to do this. So what I purposely did, you see it says B because I had that for base. I put the textured side down, and then I had the non-textured side up if you use textured paper. And I would recommend using a heavier paper. Even heavier than this might be a little bit nicer because it's heavier duty. I don't expect, especially if you think you're going to put something a little bit heavier in the box, if you're going to do anything. If you use it for more than decoration and you put kind of a heavier item in the box, but because you don't want the edges drooping, although we're going to have a top panel. So I just got that in place with those two tabs here, and then we'll just go ahead and fold back the remaining tabs. Oops. But you could always make this out of cardstock, this part, And then you can make a either chipboard, or you could do it out of chipboard. I mean, that's up to you, but when you put chipboard in the mix, it kind of changes the way the tabs will fold over because of the thickness. Or even there's a craft board that, I don't even think I could have used that. Craft board that Cricut makes that's a little bit thicker. It's almost like poster board. So you could use poster board. I mean, it's sturdy enough, and you'll see once we get this together. So now I'm going to just do the base. So for the base, we're just going to go ahead and glue it directly on. We're not going to have an inside panel. So it's just going to glue on like that. So you want to get one tab, and I'm just going to get this tab really well anchored. You could have, I had a second one with the intention of putting one on the inside. And I could put a hole in the middle just like I've been doing. If you want to do that, you can cut one out and do, but I'm only going to give you one panel with the file, and you can just put the bottom portion on. So we're just going to line this up. And we're going to put this on before we put that top piece on. I wasn't thinking. Made a couple of mistakes on this today. I'll just be tired. So it's just going to go like that. So what we want to do is just add glue to all the tabs. So make sure your glue is wet enough. You could always use something like score tape too, where you just kind of fold it down into place and use the double-sided, kind of strong double-sided tape. I only like using glue because it gives me a little wiggle room. Sometimes I don't show you the best way to put something together, because you know, sometimes it takes several times of putting something together before you figure out like what's an easier way to do it. Sometimes I'm successful at doing that, sometimes I'm not so successful. So we're just going to go ahead and match it up, go around the tabs here. I'm just matching it up, rubbing each tab as I go. You can squeeze it a little bit if you need to adjust it. I'm not putting a lot of pressure until I know all the edges are fairly close to where I want them to be. I have to kind of squeeze it a little bit before I get it in place. So as you can see right here, I'm off just a smidgen. See if I can get that in a better place. Very close. So it's important that I'm just getting some pressure on it. So if you put it on before we put this on, it would have been easier to get in there. But I still can get in there with trying to find my, I'm just going to use a blunt tool here. I misplaced my, but you can do this. I'm just using the handle of the plastic tool I have, but you could use anything you have on hand. Oopsie, don't squish it. So you can see there's the base. So the only thing is to add that top piece, which will hide all that. So we have this, I'm just going to make sure that we have the doily, make sure all the little holes are poked through, because every once in a while a hole kind of hangs on. Looks like we're good. So I'm just going to, I'm not going to add a lot of glue to the edge, I'm just going to go mostly in the middle here. Then we'll center this on the circle. And so when we get it on that top piece, we'll be able to put it just down there. You could just center it. You don't have to glue it. You can glue it if you want to, but you'll center it and then you'll see the cut design on the edges. So we'll go ahead and glue this on. You could add the glue to the bottom like we've been doing, or you can do this. I'm just doing this right now. Just don't add a lot because it'll just leak through. Let's do a little swirly design. Let's have a little fun with it. Nobody's gonna see it, but why not? There we go. Get a little glue off my hands here. So you want to get it matched up around the edges. I'm just going around the edges, matching it up. Of course, I got a little bit off here. So if you do, I'm just gonna let it go. But keep it wet enough. I have a little overhang right here. And you could always, what I'll end up doing actually is inking the edges a little bit, but you really can't tell. So if you can see, it's not like completely straight from the edge because of the weight, but it's fairly strong. So I'm gonna put it on. You're not gonna see it from the side, but right now I'll do another shot here, but I put it on there and it just sits just fine like that. So let me go ahead and give you kind of a side shot. So here it is from the side, and I did add additional embellishments after this video. If you do like this project, please give me a little thumbs up below or subscribe to our channel. And you can see it, we zoomed into the topper, so whatever you want to put on it, of course. And then here's a zoom out again of the entire project and the two different options of how to put that top lid piece on, the 2 layers at the top. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time.